Hi, everybody. It's me, Ruchi Koval. I am here with my friend, Shirley Ratner, and she's going to be giving us some insights as a clinical psychologist who was my client. And she has some really incredible, powerful ways of looking at the processes, both in terms of being a psychologist herself and in terms of availing herself of therapy and coaching throughout her life. And Shirley, I just want to turn it over to you. And just if you could give us like just a little bit of an orientation about, what kind of work do you do professionally? Like what context were you coming to me?
Sure, great. I'm really honored to be here with you. I always love talking to you, and for sure, my 6 months of coaching with you was life-changing for me. And it came at an incredible time. I've known you for many years, and I've appreciated your work in so many different capacities. So when I got to really delve in deep and really spend that intimate time with you, it was really very empowering for me. I am trained as a clinical psychologist. I've been practicing for over 15 years. I focus on family systems. I focus on people with trauma, and just really across the board, anxiety, depression, etc. And I also bring a spiritual component, so a very psycho-spiritual component, which is why I think my work with you really served to enhance both my personal and my professional life.
Okay. Okay, great. So the first question I want to ask you is, a lot of people who call me for who are potentially interested in coaching, they're like, they don't really know exactly what coaching is. Some people who come to me say, well, I'm already in therapy, or I've never tried therapy, or are you like a therapist? And there's a lot of confusion about that. So, what light can you shed on coach, therapist, both? Which values are similar in your experience? Which values have been different in your experience? Just to sort of demystify this perceived binary that people have.
Sure, absolutely. And I think it's actually really important to understand that. I do want to start with you can never go wrong. I'm a big Ruchi fan. You can never go wrong with coaching with Ruchi because um, coaching with Ruchi is about also just what you bring to the table in terms of the human being that you are. And what I've found as a psychologist as well is that not all psychologists are made equal. And so it is important that whether you're working with a coach and or a therapist, that you make sure that it's a good fit. And it is so important what the journey of the people that you're working with have been through, what are their orientation, or as in Hebrew we say hashkafa, your perspective, and what are your goals. So I want to start with that, and then to say that I have dabbled obviously in therapy for many years, and again went into the profession. So I'm very committed to to my field and what it can bring to the table. And so when I was thinking about coaching and I reached out to you, part of it was the relationship I had with you, and I was really eager to work with you because I knew how much depth and how much wisdom you carry. Um, and in so doing, I also learned so much about not just coaching with you, but just coaching in general. And so what I would say is that what I learned first and foremost is that therapy and clinical psychology work, the training is really to go from past to present, to help you to sit with you where you are now and to say, where have you been? What may have been some of your childhood background traumas that have informed who you've become today, how you think, your cognitive, thinking processes, along with how you behave, how you put yourself out there in the world. And what I found with coaching that was really very important, and for me, this is not one or the other. For me, therapy and coaching are very much both and. One could benefit from both very much because we all have a past, and I don't think anybody comes out of childhood unscarred. And there's always room to do some work and some healing. And coaching to me became something that was indispensable in terms of looking at present to future. It doesn't mean you don't look at the past because we very much did some of that. It was very clear, though, that coaching is about, okay, we're here now. We can look a little bit as to how we got where we are. And the focus is how do we get from here to how do we change directions, perspective, really shift how we view things in order to create a different outcome moving forward with different actions, living differently, doing things differently, thinking differently. It's very values based coaching, right? And so we really ask ourselves, what's important to me? It's getting in touch with my higher self, a higher consciousness. And and I think again, we if we talk about some people are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He was a psychologist who talked about, the different needs we have, and we can't get to the next level until we have the first, which was, the first level is shelter and food, and then it's safety and psychological safety and self-actualization. Coaching is very much about self-actualization. It's higher level ability to be. And so therapy, if you have trauma and you have so many wounds that you don't even feel safe in yourself and in the world, here, it's good to sort of heal some of those. And then the coaching can take you to that next level of let's live from a higher consciousness, from a higher place. And then we really show up to the world different. And so we behave differently. And so we create a different future and a better future. That's how
Mhm.
I saw it and experienced it.
Yeah. Wow, that's very interesting. Although I'm sure there are many therapists who do forward-facing work as well.
I think that is not the focus of
Okay.
most therapists. And I think, yes, of course, as therapists, we are trained to set goals, some future-oriented goals with people, and that can happen. Though I think that the main focus of therapy is to um, help people to understand, some of the maladaptive thought processes, deceptive brain messages, and also maladaptive behaviors. Um, I think that coaching is about really setting those future goals based on values,
Okay.
right?
Based on the
And
values of the client.
exactly, right? Exactly. And and again, I think that I like to sort of think about we are mind, body, and spirit. I think psychologists are often focused about the mind-body connection and the biopsychosocial model. And I think, well, again, I can only speak for coaching with you. It very much was a mind, body, spirit experience. And I think the higher level spiritual connection, and it doesn't have to be spiritual, doesn't mean religious per se, or that I am a certain, I identify as a certain by a certain religious practice. But spirituality is a lot about really, again, going from um, the mind and body to what is my higher level purpose? What is my purpose in this world and the purpose that is driving me? And turning my pain, really transforming. It's a transformation process,
Mhm.
not just a healing process. It takes you to a transformation. So that's why I do think that therapy and coaching, can sometimes work very well hand in hand, where you're doing some healing and then transformation. And it's an incredible combination that really then ends up touching every area in your life, but not whether it's parenting, marriage, professional life, social life, with social connection, even aging well, wellness.
Mm.
And aging well is a big thing right now. Aging well, people think it starts at midlife, but aging well, the research is showing, really starts as early as possible. You want to age well from as young as you can.
Mm.
So I think that coaching takes you to a place of, how do I show up? How do I work on this world in here, right?
Mm.
That then allows me to show up to whatever it is I need to show up,
Yeah.
right? In a healthy way. And that's, to me, is tremendous.
Yeah. Wow. It's so interesting that you mentioned the spiritual piece of it because I was having a dilemma whether I should put the word spiritual on my new business cards, a spiritual parenting coach. And I decided to.
Mm.
And the reason that I decided to is, in my training as a coach, I was taught be more of yourself so that those who are looking for you can find you. And the truth of the matter is, I am a deeply spiritual person. I do believe that everything happens for a reason. I do believe that there is a greater meaning and purpose to life, that things happen to us to teach us things and to help us grow. And I can't separate that from my coaching because that is such a deep belief of mine. Now, some of my clients want more of that, some of my clients want less of that, and that's fine. But that is who I am. And, um, when clients who relate to that and desire that and find those ideas to be empowering and meaningful, it makes the coaching much deeper and much more powerful because as you were saying, it transforms pain into purpose.
Mm.
And that's really why I became a coach in the first place, is so that I could transform pain into purpose. Because all the things that I've experienced in my relationship, the beautiful parts and the painful parts, have made me who I am today. And that I can turn around and bring that to other people. So I love that you brought up the spirituality of it because that is certainly very intentional. And the other piece that I love that you brought up is the values. And it's not my values, it's always going to be the values of my client because that's who I am in service of. I'm in service of my client. So that's why the questions that I ask in coaching are to help the client understand and reveal their own values, which sometimes a client isn't even in touch with their own value system. You happen to be a deeply spiritual person and you've done tremendous spiritual work. So you were super in tune with your spiritual center. But for many clients, it's the first time somebody is even asking them to examine what their deepest held values are, which is like it's a transformational process even just by having to answer that question before you even do anything about it. So, okay,
So
let's
true.
shift for a moment and ask you this question. How has availing yourself of coaching and going through the coaching process, how has that transformed how you show up as a professional psychologist? How do you approach your clients differently than before? How do you listen differently than before? I'd love to hear that.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for saying that. I want to first tell you what came up for me when, and I'm going to answer this question you had. I want to also say what came up for me when you said what you just said, um, and this could be a good example that sort of sums up what I think the value of the work of therapy and coaching, and a little bit of the difference. In psychology, there is. A healing modality that was developed by Marsha Linehan for borderline personality disorders called DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. And basically what DBT in psychology, dialectical behavioral therapy, is about taking a situation that you experienced where you were emotionally unregulated And you look at that, you kind of replay it again, and you say, okay, if I was emotionally regulated and calm, how would I have handled this situation? So you sort of replay that, right? And so that in the future, when it happens, you have a different blueprint of how you might behave. So I've come up recently with a DBT that is the work that coaching with you, Ruchi, it stands for. The D, divine providence, that everything, it happens by divine providence, that it happens and, we can't control it, things happen. Whether we believe there is a higher power, God, or not, it doesn't matter. Things happen and there's a level of acceptance. That's the D. B is we believe that it's for the best. And T is for thank you. We show up with gratitude. And so this is a DBT, a different type of DBT that has a very spiritual orientation that is not in conflict with psychology, because the spiritual take on this DBT, right, is, let's say I had a situation and it was a bad situation. I had a fight with my child, right? And I'm feeling bad and I'm feeling guilty. And so, psychology helps me to look at what happened, try to analyze why I did what I did and how I can do better. And there is a DBT where divine providence. Okay, it happened. If it happened, it was meant to happen, right? Believe it's for the best means I accept it and I recognize that there is a lesson to learn, that there is a lesson to learn. And saying thank you, the gratitude is hope that thank you for the lesson. It's showing up with a sense of optimism that that this happened for me to learn, to grow, and to do better in the future. So they're both giving you some similar things. I think that the spiritual aspect really, really allows you to shift how you look at something that's happened. It diffuses the regret, the self hatred, or here I go again. And it's the only way. Spirituality is the only way to transform the pain into growth, into saying, we we often, human beings are much more comfortable in black and white thinking, in all or nothing. And so there's the saying, you win or you lose.
Right.
Spirituality tells you, and again, the coaching that I got out with you, Ruchi, specifically, who is spiritually oriented, is you win or you learn. That is
Mm.
the difference. From you win or lose, you win or you learn. And that's what, this work
Wow.
really helped me with.
I mean, the truth is, you win either way.
Amen. I
Model, right?
absolutely. That's exactly right. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Because if you believe in a greater goodness and a purposefulness to the universe, then even when it feels like you're losing, you're winning because the universe is, or God, or what karma or whatever word one might use, right,
Right.
is teaching us something, and that every situation is an opportunity for growth.
That's exactly right. I want to interject one more thing, that one of the most life transforming, I think, concept that I learned with you was triggers show us where our work is. And what does that mean? I mean, this is, we may hear the statement, everyone, triggers show us where our work is. And we may think, oh, okay, guys, you want to do the work because this is a simple statement that makes sense, but to truly live it, you gotta work the process. You want that process. You want that coaching to really, really work with that concept and internalize it, right? Because we can understand something intellectually and oh yeah, that makes sense. But to truly live something, it's a process of transformation. And without a spiritual orientation, and spirituality, by the way, again, you could be atheist. You'll be the atheist who, who discovers that higher place. Why? Because the reality is, we all know this, no matter who you are and what you believe, that we live in two worlds. We live in a world in our hearts, in our minds, in our bodies, and we live in the world out here. And if I ask people, how much control do you have, of the world out here? Everyone will tell you not very much. And if I try to take control, or the more I try to take control, I run into issues. There's a world in here. How much control do we have here? So, coaching with you helped me to really work on the world in here and to recognize I don't necessarily all the time have full control of what goes on in here. But let me tell you something, working on trying to make everything better in here so that I could show up to whatever's going on out here, that is a humbling, effective, hopeful, and joyous process.
Yeah. Well, that's really, really beautiful. So, in your experience, Shirley, what type of person would you say would benefit from coaching?
With you,
Yes, with me.
with you, everyone and anyone. And again, I say it humbly. I have no you know, I have no interest. There's no conflict of interest here. I benefit in no way by saying this. Everyone and anyone can can be transformed by this. Um, Showing up is your 80% there. I think the word that comes up for me is humility. Humility. It comes down to humility. And what does humility mean? Humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less and thinking more about, what would not only benefit me, but by giving to myself, I then enhance and lift everyone else around me. So humility and saying, let me do some of this. Let me work on myself from the inside out is is getting you 80% there, because then what you're saying is, I am not the center of the known universe. I don't control everything. I don't understand everything. My There's a part of us, all human beings, because we're finite, because we are vulnerable, because we're mortal beings, we want to understand, because it's so scary not to understand. What is the purpose of life? Why am I here? And I know that one day I won't be, and we all have to, we have, just, we have a limited amount of time in this human body on this earth. And humility is asking myself, right, my higher self, how I have this small window of opportunity. What do I want to do with that? How do
Mm,
I want to make it amazing and great, right? And here's the thing, and what I learned with you, making it great doesn't mean that I have to go out there and understand everything and control everything and have everything be good out
right.
here, right?
Awesome.
I heard a saying recently that I loved so much, and I'm going to use it a lot. Be happy, not because everything's good. Be happy because you see the good in everything.
Mm,
And working with you was exactly it's that kind of work. We all need it. We all need that kind of work. And it is about humbling up and saying, it's okay. It's okay. This is good. I'm not selfish. I'm not a failure. I'm not, you know, ungrateful for what I have just because I want to do better and be better. So many women, especially, um, and even when they do end up coming to me, um, sometimes they're women who they're middle-aged, they're successful, in the way that the world has, defined them as successful, and and yet they feel guilty coming to get help. And to me, no, because growth is lifelong and
Yes.
growing is what we want to always be doing. So if you have an opportunity to take the time to do this inner growth, I don't care how much money you have in the bank, how beautiful you are, how healthy you are, mind, body, and spirit, there's always work to do. And you're really, this is, you have an opportunity with um, a great woman, as I think you are, Ruchi. And I want to say one more thing that you said to me very recently. You said to me, you can only take your clients and patients, if as a psychology, you can only take them as far as you've gone. So I have to tell you guys, you want to find the therapists and the coaches who have done the work and are doing the work. That is critical.
Wow. Well, thank you, Shirley. First of all, thank you for taking the time to do this and to share your experience. And thank you for all your warm and wonderful, kind words. And, God willing, if even one person is able to find the right help, whether it's with me or someone else, thanks to the time that you've spent talking with me, as we say in Hebrew, Dayenu, it will have been enough. So thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for being the person that you are and for your generosity of spirit and sharing your thoughts and being open with everybody.
Thank you so much. It is my honor. And everything you just said, right back at you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.